How quickly can you become a life coach? Well, Thomas Leonard, who was the guy that was originally credited with pretty much inventing life coaching, believed that everybody already is a life coach. So if that's true, the answer is now. Now is how quickly you can become a life coach. And most places in the world, I mean, where I'm based in New Zealand, it's quite typical, not everywhere, but most places, anybody can call themselves a life coach. Anyone can literally put a sign above their door saying, Ed Lester, life coach. By the way, I'm Ed Lester, the founder of NZ Life Coaching, if I didn't introduce myself. Ed Lester, life coach, and anybody can do that. But Thomas Leonard's point, the distinction that he always made was everybody's already a life coach, but it's possible to become a great life coach. It's possible to become a professional life coach. And that can happen a lot quicker than most people realize if you follow exactly what I'm going to teach you here. So think about it. Most people, let's say if you've worked in a job as a teacher or a health professional, a lot of our students and coaches come from those kinds of backgrounds, education and health. Now, if you've worked in either of those two professions, you've coached a lot of people. These guys have coached students, these guys have coached patients, clients, what have you, and parents. I mean, I'm just thinking of some other examples. Parents, if you've brought up children, whoa, you've done a lot of coaching. You've had to coach your kids to eat certain foods. Okay, you've had to coach your kids to be brave about certain things. You've had to coach them through difficult situations. Probably had to coach them through some very enjoyable situations. But parents do a lot of coaching. And I could go on. You know, friends, colleagues at work. If you're a manager at work, you've definitely done a lot of coaching. Managers often not the best coaches, not because they don't have the skills to become a great coach, but because nobody's ever taught them. And management and coaching traditionally are two quite different things. So anyway, whoever you are, whatever you're doing, you have done coaching. You just maybe didn't recognize it as such. So this is going to be really interesting. A lot of people, when you ask them what is life coaching or what would a life coach do, the first thing they say is they're going to tell me what to do with my life. They're going to give me advice, you know, help me to sort out my life. And life coaches don't give advice. They don't tell people what to do. And the doing part is just the least important anyway, okay? Because the actions, the doing in anything is, a lot of people think that's the cause. If I do the right thing, I'll get the right results. But actually, the doing is an effect. It's the result of other things that are happening, okay? And great coaches understand this. Because think about it. Habits. If you've got a habit automated into your subconscious, something that's you do again and again and again, it becomes automatic, it can be really difficult to break that. So you can say, well, I'm going to eat less food. I'm going to eat healthier food. I'm going to go to the gym every day. I'm going to change what I do. But if you've got habits that go against that, it makes it really difficult, as we all know. And so what's causing the habits is things like beliefs. You know, if you believe a certain thing, causes you to do certain things again and again that become habits, okay? Hope this is making sense, because most people think that coaching attacks this do. Get people more motivated, make them do new things, okay? But that's just like a band-aid, you know? If you can help somebody to change their beliefs, I gave the example of coaching our children to eat healthier foods. You know, kids eating lots of junk food, you want them to eat vegetables, so you tell them that that's good for them. You know, if you should eat more vegetables, it's really good for you. Well, kids don't care if it's good for them or not, because they're going to live forever anyway, as far as they're concerned. So they're like, no, it doesn't taste very nice. But the fact the food doesn't taste very nice is just a belief, again. And, you know, and we can choose to like different foods, and we've all done that. Like, for instance, I always ask clients, do you remember the day that you decided to like broccoli? Or do you remember a time in your life when you didn't like broccoli? It's called the broccoli test. And most people say, yeah, I remember when I was a kid, I didn't really like broccoli or sprouts or peas or something. But at some point, you started to like that thing. Do you remember the moment that you made that decision to like it because you did make that decision. Most people can't remember it. It's subconscious. This is going deeper and deeper as we move across to the left here. So if you coach your clients on belief changes, that's such a great way to work, because as their beliefs shift, they start to do different things. Okay, if they believe more, if as a coach you can help somebody to believe that more is possible, that they are capable of more, and they take that belief on board, they actually start to play with that belief and think, yeah, maybe I do have more potential. Changes start to happen and they become habits. So what you might find is if you're already one of these people who maybe someone said to you, you'd be a great life coach because you are good at inspiring and motivating and lifting people. We call it, it's a coaching hat called the cheerleading coaching hat. If you're a great kind of cheerleader, motivator, you're already probably doing great work here. But here's what happens when you go back a wee bit. We move into, eventually, the identity stage of who somebody's being. Because what we do as life coaches is we help people to change their identity, to become more of who they want to be, more of who they really are deep down. We call it their source code, their hidden, unique truth, their strengths, their talents that have somehow got buried in this fake identity that the world's given them, that's full of doubts and fears and uncertainty. We help them to bring back the real version of themselves. Okay, and that's a whole other conversation for another day, but you can imagine if you can help someone to recapture their belief in the real them, you know, the true, hidden, unique, talented person who's full of gifts and superpowers. If you can reawaken that for somebody, they automatically start to change their beliefs, their habits, their actions. Okay, it's so much more powerful than the usual solutions that we're given. You know, pills, books, diet plans, whatever. To actually help someone at this level is profound. But where it gets really, really interesting is when you think about this yourself. So I said to you earlier on, how quickly can you become a life coach? Thomas Leonard said, well, here's the thing. If you're already, let's say, a parent and you are helping your kids to do things, you know, ride a bike, or let's say you are a health professional and you're helping people to get better, you know, feel stronger, feel healed, healthier. When you're doing those things, you believe that you're just doing your job and this is what's happening. But actually, what if you realize that what you're really doing is a form of coaching? Okay, so you're already doing coaching. You're already being a coach, but you've never put that hat on. Sure, you've worn the hat of a parent, you've worn the hat of a health professional, but what about when you put the new hat on and say, well, actually, yeah, I'm coaching. I'm a coach. You can do that right now. You can become a life coach in this moment by simply putting that hat on and saying, yeah, I do that. Because here's the thing, once you realize that you've been coaching people and helping them in different ways, even your friends, family, colleagues, what's profound here is you start to play with beliefs such as, hey, I could get really good at this. I could learn some tools, some techniques, some strategies, some coaching models. I could learn all these things and I could get really, because I'm pretty good anyway, I could get really, really good. And that's the birthing point really of becoming a coach. And it's just a realization that this is just communication, you know, very, very powerful communication. It's learning how to really inspire people and become a catalyst for change for others at a deep level. As you start to realize what's possible for you yourself and your identity and how that changes things, you awaken to what's possible for other people. And really, if you've got an urge to help others, you know, a calling that you need to help others, it's part of your purpose and who you are. You need to be making a difference. This is something that gives you exactly what you need to do that. And don't underestimate it. I mean, the other thing with life coaching is people think it's kind of a light thing. It's something light that you do. No, not at all. This is the deepest, most profound change you can help someone to make, is on the level of who they are as a person. Okay. And yeah, I mean, a lot of coaching trainers and schools and you know, philosophies work on the basis of teaching skills, you know, teaching what you do. how to do coaching, just, what questions to ask, what techniques to use, what models to follow. But actually, I think what makes us quite different, and I think you'll find that if you go and look at the reviews and the feedback for New Zealand life coaching, what you'll find is a lot of the reviews talk about change on this level, on this identity level, because otherwise it doesn't work. I'll give you one quick story, and then I think this will make a lot of sense to you. My own dad used to smoke a pipe, okay, and he always wanted to stop smoking because he used to get these terrible headaches. So he wanted to, and he knew it was the smoking that was causing it. So he wanted to give up smoking his pipe, but people they couldn't help him because they couldn't understand why he did it. They thought it was just a habit, an addiction, or whatever you want to call it. So they wanted to stop him doing this, like willpower or different kinds of techniques. What they didn't realize, because I asked him one day, I said, "Dad, why do you smoke a pipe? Most people smoke cigarettes. Why on earth are you smoking a pipe?" It's a long time ago. He said, "Because I'm a scientist." I was like, "What do you mean, because you're a scientist?" He said, "Because his job was, he was a analytical chemist." And he said when he was at university as a young man in the 1950s, I think it was, he said all of the professors and the other proper scientists, grown up, adult scientists, they all smoked pipes. He said, so us students at university, we all thought we were clever and grown up by smoking pipes. It made us feel like scientists. Now, that was when he was probably, 19 or 20. But decades later, in his 60s, 70s, what have you, what people didn't realize was that identity, that association of, if I lose my pipe, if I lose my smoking, I won't be me anymore. I'll be somebody else. And it's a real big clue as to how you coach people to get what they want, but to retain this identity of who they are. Okay? Because if you can do both, you're never going to be out of work. You're never going to not have clients. You're going to be very, very popular. Because if you can help people to get what they want, but allow them to still be who they are, that's a winning ticket.